Today we've got country bass lessons, a couple tips on how to play country bass lines, and just some ideas of the standard country bass lines that are out there to help you perform better with your group and your bass lines as well. Alright, so if you don't know me by now, I'm Donald with the bass instructor of the How to Play Bass online course at iwanttoPlayBass.com. Jump over there, subscribe, get your free ebook when you do subscribe on setting your bass up. Everything, the intonation, the action, the pickups, everything you need to know on setting this up to you. And this is I Want to Play Bass, your YouTube channel, everything bass, guitar tips, gear reviews, and stuff like that. So subscribe here, hit that bell notification, get in the loop, and don't miss a beat. Alright, so country music bass lessons. Now, if you've seen a lot of my other videos, I break down a lot of country music songs and stuff like that, but I don't really dig into detail on how, a standard country bass line is, a traditional country bass line, how they, just where they start at. Okay, what's the foundation, the fundamentals of country bass, and that's what I'm gonna go over today. Just the fundamentals of it and how it usually works. You can play this thing all day long, and then you can get, a lot of people got some low ideas of country bass lines. Yeah, there's not a lot going on in them for the most part, but it's all about the song, and anywhere it's all about that. So a successful bassist is somebody that can lay back and really lay in that pocket and lay that groove down. You don't want to, you don't necessarily have to play a million notes or a lot of flashy fills and stuff like that to make it. You can, you're going to get more work if you can lay in that pocket and get it done. Okay, if the ensemble you're in is everybody's laying back, then if their skills aren't that level that they can control it, then the bassist can come in there and add a little more to it to help enhance that ensemble. Okay, so you can do that. You can use it for whatever it's needed for, but it's that's the great thing about bass, is that you've got a variety of ways to play it and the way that it can help lay that foundation down. You can play a lot of notes if it's needed, call it. You can, if it's called for it. If it's the melody, you can rephrase the melody and just help add that melody into your lines to enhance that song. And you can just lay low and just lay that low end down there, which is what it's standard for and what it's definitely made to do. Okay, so that's what it does. And in country music, that's a lot of that is done, just that low end. It's all about the song. In country music, it's all about the story. So a lot of times it's just that low end, and typically it's a 1 to 5 move. That's an interval, the distance between two pitches. That's an interval, and most of the time it's a fourth interval, or it's a fifth. And that fifth up, the distance from the interval from the root note up a fifth is the same pitch as a fourth interval down. Down, because this is still, it's a fourth interval from the root. Say the root is C, and we're going to the G, which it's still, G is the fifth of a C major scale, but the interval, if you go down, is a fourth, and they use that interval sound a lot in country. It's not as, you see it, they go up the perfect fifth, but for the most part it's a 1 and 5, because the 5 is G, so that's where they say the 5 is, because it's the fifth degree of that. This is our root. In any instance, the fifth degree of any key is going to be a perfect interval down, a fourth interval down. So that's where they get it. So don't get confused when they say the 1 and 5. It's not, the 5's not an interval. It's the fifth degree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. C major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is the fifth degree, the 1 and 5. And in country music, a lot of times they just move between the 1 and 5. So we start on C, the 1, and then we're doing the 1 5 right here, and then the next chord progression of that tune is possibly going to be the 5 of that. And then it goes to G and D, because D is the 5 from G. A perfect fifth from G is D, and then down an interval, a fourth interval is D. So that's a lot of times the chord progression is the 1 and the 5. A lot of times they do go to the 4th. It's country is definitely a descendant of the blues by far, and we've talked about 12-bar blues, 1, 4, and 5, and country does branch off of that for sure. A lot of times though, they just stay with the chord progression, the 1 and the 5. A lot of times they do it also, they use the 4. And the same thing stands true for the 4. You can go to the 4. So one way to look at it is your chord progression is C, G, and D, okay? So in the C, the root note of that chord, C7, C major 7, whatever it is, the root note is C. So you consider the root note as a 1. So that's the 1. And then we go from that interval, that root note, a fourth interval down will be there, okay? So don't get confused. Just look at that chord, and it's as jazz does. If you're reading jazz music or anything, they stand that chord. You can be in the key of C, but if they play a B flat major, a B flat minor, something, you're out of that key. You're in that chord. You're staying true to that chord. So always look at it like that. Each chord is its own entity, okay? So a C7, if you're in the blues, you're going to see a C7. C's the root, and then you're thinking a C7, a C Mixolydian scale. Then we're getting into a different ball game. So I won't veer off on that. I won't go down that rabbit hole. But so C is the chord. C is the chord. C is the root. So you want to go a fourth interval below that root, okay? And then the 5 chord is going to be in the key of C. We're going to be G. You're going to see a G7, G major 7, or what have you. But when you see G, that's the root of that chord. So then we go an interval, a fourth interval below that root, which is the perfect fifth. All right, and then we see the next chord, and on that chord chart is going to be a G major 7, G minor 7, or a G7, or G. We see G, we know that's the root of that chord. So our next line, our next idea is a perfect fourth below that G is going to be the D, okay? So then, that's a 1-5 progression. And if they go to that 4, we see the F. We'll see an F major 7, we'll see an F7, or no matter what it is, that chord we see F. Okay, so then we know that's the root, that's the 1, perfect fourth interval below it is going to be the C. Okay, so that is how you're going to get to your, if you're playing a country tune, you've got somebody, a friend of yours or a musician playing a country tune, he's written a country song, and he wants you to lay down the bass line, that's going to be your go-to right there. To get started, to get the ball rolling, just go to that right there. So they're on C, and they go to G, C, and they go to F. Okay, so that's where you want to start. That's going to be the foundation, just the idea, just to get it grooving, get it going, and make it groove. Depending on the pace, depending on the tempo or the feel that individual's wanting to go for, is going to depend on how you make that groove happen. But there's a lot of options there, like I've talked about in other videos. That ghost note, it's just simply making that note, just muting that note, making a percussive sound now. That's a standard trick in country music. That's a standard trick in country music. Bassists use all day long. like I said, depending on the tempo is how you want to utilize that. If it's a fast tempo, if it's a slow tempo, and you don't have to use ghost notes. It just depends on the feel you're going for or how you're wanting to control that groove. But that's it right there. And then they walk around from there. I mean, like I say, you walk up to these notes depending on what chords he's playing. G dominant sevens, or G dominant chords, or just G major chords, or minor chords. Depending on that is, you know, how you're going to walk up to these notes, or how you're going to use, or what lines or notes you're going to use to get to the next note if needed, or you just play the roots. Just to get started, you got to start somewhere. So that's what you want to do. You know, typically the fourth is a standard idea for country. You know, not so much just single notes. You can do that just to get playing with the song. You know, so you can get a feel for it or an idea of what they're going for. You can start there too. Okay, but so there you go. You can add to the groove some ghost notes depending on the tempo and the feel they're going for. It all depends on how that arrangement, what the composer's asking for, what they're looking for, or what. I mean, and your experience in this situation is what they're going to go for. Sometimes that composer has called upon you for your ideas and your bass lines. You've made that name for yourself, so they've called on you for your ideas. They've left that free and open to you to do. So that's when you can break down and do whatever you want to do, or whatever's got you to where you are now. So there's options, all kinds of options. The sky's the limit. It is just absolutely the limit. So you can do anything, you know, within reason and within the guidelines what you're dealing with in that certain situation. Every situation is different. So, you know, there's no right or wrong. Just have fun with it and do your best. Okay, so hope you got some value out of this. If you did, hit that like button. Help me help you, and I'll catch you all on the flip-flop in the next video. So bye for now.